Coming up on Network Africa. International mediators say exiled South Sudanese opposition figure Riek Machar has declined to renounce violence. Six teenagers from Burundi go missing in Washington after participating in a robotics competition. And social workers hit the road to help Egypt's street children. Hello and welcome to the program. I'm Joke Rogers. We begin today in North Africa, where exiled South Sudanese opposition figure Riek Machar has declined to renounce violence or declare a unilateral ceasefire. Instead, an international mediator, former Botswana President Festus Mogae, told the United Nations that Mr. Machar is demanding new peace talks outside the war-torn country. South Sudan descended into civil war in 2013 after President Salva Kiir fired Riek Machar as his deputy, unleashing a conflict that has spawned armed factions of 10 following ethnic lines. Mr. Mogae chairs the Joint Monitoring and Evaluation Commission, which was set up to monitor a failed 2015 truce and peace deal implementation. South Sudan has since launched its own national dialogue, while fighting has continued across the country. Well, the police in Morocco have used tear gas to break up an anti-government demonstration. Hundreds of people gathered in the northern port of Al Hoceima despite an official ban. The city has experienced weeks of unrest. Reports say an unidentified individual slipped into a coma after sustaining a head injury due to stone throwing during the protest. 2 police officers were also seriously injured and remain in hospital. Public anger spilled into the streets last year after a local man was crushed to death in a rubbish truck trying to retrieve confiscated swordfish. The United Nations has expressed concern about allegations of human rights abuses in Cameroon. This follows a report by Amnesty International, which says Cameroonian forces tortured Boko Haram suspects, with much of the torture happening at a base used extensively by American troops and visited by French ones. The report documented 101 cases of arbitrary arrest and torture by Cameroonian troops charged with fighting the insurgents between 2013 and 2017. The rights group says some of the victims were tortured to death.
Obviously, any fight against terrorist entities, whether it's Boko Haram or anyone else, has to be accompanied hand in hand with respect for human rights. We've made that very clear over and over again, that if basic human rights are not observed in a fight against terror entities and terrorism, the entire battle could be lost. Part of what you're trying to do is make sure that the population themselves feel respected by the authorities under which they live. And so it's our point of principle that that human rights need to be respected throughout by whatever authorities are conducting counterinsurgency or anti-terror operations. We're concerned about any allegations of human rights abuses, and certainly we hope that this particular report will be followed up by the authorities in Cameroon.
The Egyptian government has accused Qatar of adopting a pro-terrorist policy that has violated the UN Security Council resolutions. Egypt's Deputy UN Ambassador Ihab Mustafa also described it as shameful that the 15-member body had not held Qatar accountable. However, Qatar's UN Ambassador Alia Ahmed Saif Al Thani rejected the baseless accusations, as he describes it, made by Egypt after the Security Council adopted a resolution to renew sanctions on Islamic State and Al-Qaeda. Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, the United Arab Emirates and Egypt imposed sanctions on Qatar last month, saying the gas-rich Gulf state finances Islamist militants throughout the region.
للدول التي لا تمتثل لتلك القرارات.
It's crucial for the Security Council to make these countries that don't respect these resolutions accountable. It's inadmissible that the Council would adopt a resolution which would create a legal framework and an operational framework to fight terrorism, and then they find regimes or small groups of countries undermine that framework and destroy it. Those regimes continuously violate Security Council resolutions in a flagrant way without any fear of responsibility or accountability. These regimes continue to finance terrorism to provide arms and havens for terrorists. There is, for example, the adoption by the Qatar regime of a pro-terrorist policy. That regime financed terrorism, provided weapons to terrorists, and provided havens for terrorists, and incited terrorism, whether it be Libya, Syria, in Iraq, or other countries.
وتوفير الملاذ الآمن له.
Japan welcomes the...
Meanwhile, some Chinese Muslim Uyghurs have gone into hiding amid a wave of arrests in Egypt in the past 2 weeks. Egypt says the detainees are illegal immigrants, but human rights activists say that the Uyghurs are at serious risk of arbitrary detention and torture if they are deported to China. China has cracked down on the ethnic minority community after accusing some of militancy. But some activists say Chinese Muslims will be treated like animals if forced to return to China. 6 teenagers from Burundi who participated in a recent robotics competition in the United States have gone missing. The Washington, D.C. police website says the teens, 2 females and 4 males, range in age from 16 to 18. The group was in Washington to compete in a recent international robotics competition from Sunday through to Tuesday and went missing following the closing ceremonies of the competition on Tuesday afternoon. The robotics competition attracted international attention earlier in the week as a team of girls from Afghanistan were granted visas to attend the competition despite a travel ban imposed by the Trump administration levied on majority Muslim nations.